In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it.
Welcome to Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man. I'm Stephen Leake. The American Dream, Death, Rebirth, and Musings. In the quiet haze of an evening, a cigarette burns low against the backdrop of a fading skyline. This is the world of Musings of a Cigarette-Smoking Man, a podcast that invites you into the contemplative space between smoke rings and whispered truths. Here we don't rush, we don't shout, we reflect. And in this stillness, we explore one of the most enduring myths woven into the fabric of American life, the American dream. What is this dream? What shape does it take beyond the glossy magazine covers and the flickering silver screens? To many, it is a promise, a radiant beacon illuminating the path towards hope, opportunity, and prosperity. It is the idea that no matter where you start, through hard work and perseverance, you can rise. You can build a better life. You can claim your place in the sun. This notion surged in the nation's veins as America grew, fueled by the sweat and ambition of immigrants, pioneers, and dreamers alike. In the early chapters of its story, the dream was simple and striking: home ownership, upward mobility, a fair chance to succeed. It was a sweet nectar offered to every hand extended in earnest. The founding fathers sketched a framework of liberty. Generations after, that framework was filled with hopes to be grabbed and shaped into realities. Yet, as decades stretched into centuries, the American dream grew complex, layered with nuance and contradiction. The post-war boom brought skies filled with opportunity and the rise of the middle class, a time when that dream seemed not only possible, but palpable. Suburban streets with white picket fences became a metaphor for achievement, the soundtrack of radios and children's laughter echoing the triumph of a shared ideal. But beneath the surface, shadows lengthened. Social upheaval, economic disparity, and shifting values began to challenge the straightforward allure of that dream. The promise seemed frayed, leaking through cracks of systematic inequality, political division, and unprecedented cultural transformations. For many, the dream felt like a ghost, haunting the edges of a possibility, but never quite within reach. The idea that once illuminated this nation now felt dim, as if the American dream had died, suffocated by the weight of modern realities. Yet, what if this death is but a transformation? What if the dream did not vanish, but evolved, waiting quietly to be reborn from the ashes of its former self? Signs flicker, a new generation redefining success, old values blending with new perspectives, innovation sparking unexpected paths. The dream, perhaps, is a living thing, shaped and reshaped by the times in the hands that grasp it. And so, with an introspective gaze and a heart open to mystery, we begin. Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man is a journey into this paradox, the death and rebirth of an idea that, no matter how challenged, refuses to be silenced. As the smoke curls upward, drifting through time and memory, this podcast seeks to uncover not just history, but the spirit beneath it. Who are we, if not dreamers? And if our dream changes shape, what does that say about us? Tonight, we light this cigarette of reflection and lean in to the stories that lie between despair and hope, between the past we inherited and the future we dare to dream. Join me as we wander through corridors of history, pondering what has passed and what is possible anew. Together we will track the tangled trails of ambition and loss, listen for the whispers of resurgence, and ask the question that lingers long after the embers fade. Clarity. In a world saturated with information, bombarded by opinions, and clouded by uncertainty, clarity is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. That's what Monarch Holdings International Incorporated offers the world. Clarity in the midst of static and noise. Every day, businesses, entrepreneurs, and creators navigate a relentless barrage. Market fluctuations, evolving technologies, competing voices. It's easy to feel lost, overwhelmed, unsure of the next step. The path forward can seem obscured, the right decisions elusive. This is the static that holds potential captive. This is the noise that drowns out innovation. But what if you could cut through that interference? What if you had a partner dedicated to bringing sharp focus to your vision? Monarch Holdings International is an innovative holding company registered in Nevada, built on a foundation of fostering entrepreneurial spirit, championing creativity, and advancing the principles of individual liberty and free markets. We're not just another corporation. We are a diverse ecosystem of ventures, united by a singular commitment to illuminate the way forward. How do we achieve this clarity? Through a potent combination of principled leadership and cutting-edge business intelligence. Our consulting services, for example, leverage the power of advanced tools like IBM SPSS, IBM Watson AI, and Palantir. We transform complex data into actionable, data-driven insights and clear strategic recommendations. This isn't just about numbers. It's about providing you with the profound understanding needed to make informed decisions with confidence, unlocking your potential. Our commitment to clarity and innovation extends across our diverse portfolio, from strategic business, market, and political consulting that empowers enterprises to navigate complex landscapes, to our publishing subsidiary, Monarch Literary Limited, which champions free thought, supports unique voices, and challenges the norm. We invest in technology app development, foster overlooked talent in music production, apparel, and support various freedom oriented initiatives. Each subsidiary, while distinct, operates under our core values of integrity, collaboration, and innovation. We believe in empowering individuals and businesses to reach their zenith. At Monarch Holdings International, we don't just offer services, we offer a new perspective. We help you filter out the distractions, identify the opportunities, and build a resilient future. We understand that when you see clearly, you can achieve extraordinary things. We are redefining what it means to be a holding company in today's dynamic environment by focusing on what truly matters, unlocking potential and driving meaningful progress through principled leadership. Are you tired of the static, ready to silence the noise and find your focus? Whether you're an entrepreneur with a groundbreaking idea, a business leader navigating market complexities, or an innovator seeking a partner who shares your vision for a freer, more prosperous world, Monarch Holdings International Incorporated is here to help you achieve clarity. It's time to move beyond the uncertainty. It's time to see your path with precision. It's time to unlock your true potential. Discover the difference clarity can make. Visit monarchholdingsinternational.com to explore our subsidiaries, learn more about our comprehensive services, and understand our unwavering commitment to cutting-edge business intelligence and principled leadership. Monarch Holdings International Incorporated, cutting through the noise, delivering clarity, unlocking your potential. The death of the American dream, causes and cultural reflections. They say every dream eventually wakes, sometimes gently, sometimes with a jolt. The American dream, for a lot of people, it feels like it didn't just wake up, it collapsed, like an old building deemed structurally unsound, its foundations eroded by forces unseen, or perhaps just ignored for too long. We talked about its history, its promise, its golden age after the war. But history isn't a straight line, it's a tangled, messy web. And the narrative of boundless opportunity, for many, that narrative has become a ghost story. Why did it die? Or perhaps why does it feel dead to so many? It wasn't a single bullet, but a barrage of slow, steady blows. The chasm of economic inequality. Let's start with the most obvious scar, economic inequality. The gap between the rich and everyone else isn't just widening, it's becoming a chasm you need binoculars to see across. The promise of the American dream was that hard work would lead to a better life, and critically, a better life than your parents had. Upward mobility wasn't just possible, it was the expected trajectory. But look around now. Wages for the average worker for decades, they've been largely stagnant, struggling to keep pace with the cost of living. You work full time, maybe 2 jobs, and still, affording basic necessities, housing, healthcare, education, feels like trying to catch smoke with your bare hands. Meanwhile, wealth concentrates at the very top. The folks stacking the chips aren't necessarily working harder, they're benefiting from a system that increasingly favors capital over labor. Imagine 2 families side by side working equally hard. One benefits from generational wealth, connections, access to elite education, and investments. The other starts from scratch. 50 years ago, hard work and maybe a union job could put that second family squarely in the middle class, maybe even send their kids to college debt-free. Today, the starting line is miles behind, and the finish line keeps moving farther away. The rungs on the ladder aren't just slippery. Some of them have broken off entirely. This isn't just about envy. It's about the fundamental fairness at the heart of the dream being questioned. If the game is rigged, what's the point of playing? Globalization and the shifting landscape of work. Then came globalization, a powerful force, reshaping economies, connecting the world, and relocating jobs. Factories closed their doors in the heartland, town. Their work shipped overseas to chase lower labor costs. Whole communities built around manufacturing crumbled. The pride of a skilled trade, passed down through generations, suddenly became obsolete. It wasn't just manufacturing. Call centers, tech support, even some higher skilled white collar jobs felt the pressure of a global labor market. The competition wasn't just the guy down the street anymore. It was someone on the other side of the planet willing to do the job for a fraction of the cost. For many, this felt like the rug being pulled out from under them, a betrayal of the implicit contract that if you learned a skill and worked hard, you'd have a stable career. The globalized world brought cheaper goods, sure, but for many American workers, it felt like it came at the cost of their security and their piece of the dream. Political polarization and gridlock. And while this was all happening, our politics became, well, a spectacle. Bitter, divisive, seemingly paralyzed spectacle. Political polarization isn't just about disagreeing on policy, it's become an identity crisis, a tribal war where compromise is a dirty word. Why does this matter for the American dream? Because addressing these massive economic and social shifts like inequality, globalization's impact, technological disruption requires collective action, sensible policy, and a willingness to invest in the future of all citizens. But when the political system is consumed by infighting, when the focus is on scoring points against the other side rather than solving problems, systemic issues that chip away at opportunity go unaddressed. Infrastructure crumbles. Education systems are underfunded in areas that need them most. Social safety nets fray, and regulations that could level the playing field are gridlocked. The government, which theoretically exists to serve the people and create conditions for prosperity, increasingly appears incapable or unwilling to tackle the fundamental challenges making the dream harder to reach. This breeds cynicism and disillusionment, eroding faith in the very institutions that underpin the societal contract the dream relies upon. If the system itself seems broken, how can the dream within it thrive? Cultural shifts and redefining success. Culture, too, is a relentless beast. It never stays still. The traditional image of the American dream, the suburban house, the 2 cars, the 2.5 kids, the steady job, was always a snapshot from a particular era, but that image held a certain power, a clear goal. Today, success is less monolithic, more fragmented. For some, the old goals are still the target, but they feel unattainable. For others, the goals have changed entirely. Younger generations, burdened by student loan debt and facing a volatile job market, might prioritize flexibility, experiences, or work-life balance over traditional metrics of wealth accumulation and home ownership. The rise of the gig economy, while offering flexibility, often lacks the stability and benefits that underpin the middle-class lifestyle of the past. Social media paints a distorted picture, showcasing curated realities of wealth and success, amplifying the feeling of inadequacy for those who feel left behind. The constant comparison can make even modest progress feel like failure. The cultural narrative is less about shared progress and more about individual hustle, often bordering on precariousness. This shift isn't inherently bad, but it does mean the shared understanding of what the dream looks like is fractured. And for those still chasing the older version, the lack of societal structure to support it feels like a personal failing, even when it's systemic. The squeeze on the middle class and wage stagnation. Let's drill a little deeper into the middle class specifically. It was the engine of the post-war American dream. A large, stable middle class meant broad prosperity, a consumer base, and a sense of shared stake in the nation's success. But that middle class has been shrinking, squeezed from both the top and bottom. As mentioned, wages haven't kept up with productivity or inflation, particularly those without college degrees, like me. The cost of essential goods and services has risen significantly. Healthcare costs are crippling. Housing prices in desirable areas are astronomical, often requiring levels of debt that were unthinkable a generation ago. Sending a child to a decent college can mean mortgaging your future for theirs with student loans that can take decades to repay, if ever. Consider a family earning what would have been a solid middle class income 30 years ago. Today, that same relative income might place them precariously close to the poverty line once expenses are accounted for. Savings are minimal, emergencies are catastrophic, and the possibility of retirement seems like a cruel joke. The safety net that once caught people where they stumbled has gaping holes. The traditional path, work hard, save, and buy a house, retire comfortably, feels less like a well trodden path and more like a perilous climb up a crumbling cliff face. The decline in middle class stability is perhaps the most tangible evidence for many that the dream is not just harder, but fundamentally broken. Technology's double edged sword. Technology is a fascinating, terrifying force. It drives innovation, creates new industries, and connects us in unprecedented ways, but it also disrupts. Automation is replacing workers in fields from manufacturing to data entry. Artificial intelligence promises to reshape even more sectors, including those once considered safe, like writing, analysis, and customer service. This technological revolution requires new skills, constant adaptation, and access to education and training that many don't have. The digital divide is real. Not everyone has equal access to the tools and knowledge needed to thrive in the new economy. For those whose skills become obsolete, finding a new foothold can be incredibly difficult, leading to long-term unemployment or underemployment. The gig economy, fueled by technology, offers a flexibility but often atomizes work, stripping away the benefits and security of traditional employment. You might be your own boss, but you're also on your own for healthcare, retirement, and job security. This adds another layer of precariousness for those trying to build a stable life. Another way the ground beneath the American dream feels less solid. The philosophical conflict, promise versus reality. At its core, the original promise of the American dream was simple: opportunity based on merit. Work hard, play by the rules, and you can succeed. The reality, as shaped by these factors, inequality, globalization, political gridlock, cultural shift, and a squeezed middle class, technological disruption, is far more complex and, for many, far more brutal. The rules seem to have changed, but not for everyone. The playing field isn't level, it's steeply tilted. Opportunities aren't distributed based purely on merit, but are heavily influenced by circumstances of your birth, your access to capital, your connections, and the luck of navigating a rapidly changing economic landscape. This conflict between the enshrined ideal and the lived reality creates deep disillusionment. It's not just about the getting rich. It's about the feeling that the fundamental promise of the nation is broken. It's about seeing the system work beautifully for some while it erects insurmountable barriers for others. It's the bitter taste of realizing that maybe, just maybe, hard work and perseverance aren't enough anymore. That feels like a death, doesn't it? The death of a certain kind of hope, a certain kind of faith in the system, a faith many once took for granted. So, yes, the evidence is there, swirling in the air like smoke from this cigarette. The old structure of the American dream, the one built on a post war foundation of manufacturing jobs, rising wages, and accessible home ownership, appears to be crumbling. It's not a sudden, dramatic collapse everyone witnessed at once. It's been a slow, agonizing process, felt differently by different people in different corners of the country, but the cumulative effect, a widespread sense that the dream is, if not dead, then severely wounded, perhaps beyond recognition for those who still carry the hopes of past generations in their hearts. This feeling of loss, this disillusionment, is a heavy weight on the national psyche. It breeds anxiety, resentment, and uncertainty. It makes people question everything they thought they knew about how things work in America. It leaves a void where hope and aspiration used to reside. Signs of rebirth, emerging visions of the American dream. The smoke curls, slow and deliberate, painting transient pictures in the air. We spoke of endings, of decay, of the visible cracks in the gilded frame of the American dream. It's easy, in the twilight of perceived decline, to focus solely on the dust and the rubble. The evidence of challenge is everywhere, undeniable and sharp. But perhaps death is too absolute a word. Nature teaches us that endings are often merely transitions. A forest fire clears the ground not just for ash, but for new growth. A seed must crack open, seemingly destroying itself, for a new plant to emerge. Could the struggles we witness, the disillusionment we feel, be the cracking open of the old dream, making way for something new? Is this not a death, but a difficult, painful rebirth? The American story, for all its flaws and contradictions, is one of relentless adaptation, of shedding old skins and reaching for new horizons. It's a story of resilience woven into the very fabric of the land and its people. The signs are often subtle, easy to miss amidst the noise and the news headlines, shouting of division and despair. But if you look closely, if you listen past the din, you can hear the first tentative whispers of a different tune, the fragile shoots pushing through the hardened earth. These are the signs of rebirth, the emerging visions of what the American dream might become. Grassroots resurgence and community building. When large systems falter, people often turn to the oldest system of all, community and family. The perceived failure of institutions, political, economic, to provide the stability and opportunity promised by the old dream has catalyzed a surge in grassroots movements and local initiatives. This isn't just political activism. It's about people knitting together the frayed edges of their lives, their neighborhoods, their families, their shared futures. Look at the rise of mutual aid networks, particularly visible during times of crisis, but persisting in various forms. People organizing locally to share resources, skills, and support, bypassing traditional, often bureaucratic forms of assistance. Community land trusts emerging to create affordable housing in areas where market forces have driven prices beyond reach. Local food movements connecting consumers directly to farmers, building sustainable local economies and fostering a sense of place and interdependence. These efforts are not always loud or nationally televised. They are quiet acts of defiance against despair, small fires lit in the darkness. They represent a shift in focus from the grand abstract idea of a national dream to the tangible reality of building a better life right here with the people next to you. It's a turning inward to find strength, not in isolation, but in collective action and shared purpose. This kind of community building, this reclaiming of local agency, feels like a fundamental, hopeful reassertion of the human desire to thrive, even when the larger system feels stacked against you. It's a dream built from the ground up, not handed down. Technical innovation is a catalyst for opportunity. In our previous musing, we touched on technology as a disruptive force, replacing jobs and widening divides, and it is undoubtedly that. But technology, like most powerful forces, is a double-edged sword. It also possesses an incredible potential to democratize opportunity and fuel new forms of entrepreneurship and connection. Consider the creator economy and what I personally do. Platforms like Etsy, Shopify, Substack, and others allow individuals to build businesses around their skills, crafts, or knowledge without needing significant startup capital or traditional gatekeepers. A baker can sell globally. A writer can publish directly to an audience. A musician can share their work without a record label. This enables individuals to pursue their passions and build sustainable livelihoods in ways that were unimaginable a generation ago. It shifts the focus from climbing a corporate ladder to building your own platform, your own enterprise. Online learning platforms are making education and skill acquisition more accessible through equity and access, though equity and access remains a challenge. You can learn coding, graphic design, marketing, or complex technical skills from anywhere with an internet connection, often at a fraction of the cost of traditional institutions. This levels the playing field, giving individuals the tools to adapt to the changing job market and create their own opportunities, rather than being solely dependent on stagnant traditional pathways. Crowdfunding platforms allow innovators and artists to bypass traditional funding models, raising capital directly from the public who believe in their ideas. This is opportunity unlocked, not just for the privileged few with access to venture capital, but for anyone with a compelling concept and the ability to connect with others. Technology is reshaping the landscape of work, yes, but it's also creating new territories for aspiration and achievement. It's enabling a more fluid, adaptable form of making it, one that values ingenuity, connection, and direct engagement with markets and communities. It challenges the old model of the stable, lifelong corporate job as the sole path to security and offers alternatives that, while different, carry their own potential for fulfillment and prosperity. It's a dream built in pixels and code, distributed and decentralized. Cultural renaissance, cultural renaissance, and redefining success. Perhaps the most profound sign of rebirth lies in the evolving cultural landscape and the shifting values, particularly among younger generations. The classic image of the American dream, the suburban house, the white picket fence, the nuclear family, and the corner office, feels increasingly outdated, even irrelevant to many. This isn't necessarily a tragedy, it's an evolution. Younger Americans facing economic precarity inherited from previous generations, student debt, and housing costs, are questioning the old metrics of success. They are prioritizing experiences over possessions, flexibility over stability, purpose over salary alone, and work-life balance over relentless hustle. Homeownership may still be a goal, but is often seen as less attainable or less central to a successful life than building meaningful connections, pursuing creative endeavors, or contributing to social good. There's a growing appreciation for diverse paths: the artist, the activist, the digital nomad, and the social entrepreneur. Success is being redefined in more personal and holistic terms, encompassing well being, community impact, creative expression, and personal growth, not just financial accumulation. This cultural shift is liberating. It broadens the scope of what constitutes a dream worth pursuing and acknowledges that fulfillment can be found outside the narrow confines of traditional corporate or material success. Simultaneously, Americans' diverse cultural threads are becoming more visible and celebrated. This ongoing cultural renaissance, fueled by increased representation and cross-cultural exchange, often facilitated by technology, enriches the national tapestry and challenges the historical homogeny often implied by the older American dream narrative. The American dream, in its potential rebirth, is becoming more explicitly multifaceted, reflecting the myriad identities and aspirations of its people. It's a dream painted with many colors, a chorus sung in many tongues. Renewed calls for social justice and equity. Philosophical musings on transformation and cycles. The alchemists of old sought to turn lead into gold, a process of transformation both literal and metaphorical. They understood that creation often requires dissolution, and the base must be broken down before the precious can be forged. Perhaps the American dream is undergoing such an alchemical process. The lead of its older, perhaps too rigid and exclusive form is being melted down by the fires of change, struggle, and critique. History is not a linear march toward a fixed destination, but a complex dance of cycles, growth and decay, creation and destruction, death and rebirth. Societies, like individuals, must adapt or wither. The dream that sustained previous generations, rooted in the specific economic and social conditions of their time, may no longer be viable or even desirable in its original form. But the underlying human impulse, the desire for a better life, for opportunity, for the chance to pursue happiness, that impulse is eternal. What we are witnessing is not the extinction of that impulse, but its metamorphosis. The better life is being redefined. Opportunity sought in new places and through new means. Happiness is understood less as accumulated wealth and more as a state of being, connected to purpose, community, and well-being. The pain and uncertainty of this transformation are real. There is loss of familiar pathways, loss of perceived security, loss of a shared, simple narrative. The struggle for equity is fraught with tension and resistance. The adaptation required by technological and economic shifts leaves many behind. Optimism without acknowledging this reality is naive. Yet realism does not necessitate despair. The energy visible in grassroots efforts, the creativity unleashed by technology, the broadening definition of success, the insistent demands for justice, these are not the hallmarks of a dying society or dead dream. They are signs of life, of struggle, yes, but also of vitality and reinvention. They suggest that the American dream is not a relic of the past, but a living concept, being wrestled with, reshaped, and reborn in the crucible of the present. It may not look like the dream of our grandparents or even our parents. The white picket fence might be replaced by a community garden plot, the steady factory job by a portfolio of freelance projects, the suburban sprawl by a revitalized urban neighborhood or a connected rural commune. The symbols change, but the core aspiration persists. The hope that tomorrow can be better than today, not just for oneself, but for one's community, and that the future is something we can collectively build. This rebirth is not guaranteed. It requires effort, vision, and a willingness to confront the inequalities and injustices that threaten to suffocate the new growth. But the seeds are there, the shoots are appearing. The question is whether we have the courage and collective will to nurture them, to water this new dream with equity, compassion, and a new commitment to the idea that opportunity should be boundless, not just for some, but for all. As the smoke dissipates, leaving only the lingered scent of possibility, one is left to ponder. The old dream may be fading, but perhaps the true American dream is not just a destination, but the perpetual journey itself, the endless, difficult, and often beautiful process of striving, adapting, and being reborn. In the midst of our reflections on the American dream, let me introduce you to something quietly remarkable and emblematic of tradition, craftsmanship, and enduring reliability. Skillcraft U.S. government pens. These aren't just any pens, they are tools of history, instruments that have played silent roles in shaping the course of governance and ideas across the decades. Skillcraft pens are handcrafted in the USA, designed with precision and built to last. Their smooth ink flow makes every word glide effortlessly onto the page. Whether you're signing a proclamation, jotting down a fleeting thought, or composing your own dreams, these pens embody a tangible connection to the weight and responsibility carried by steady hands that write the laws and stories of our nation. Beyond their sleek design lies a promise, durability and dependability, no matter the circumstance. Skillcraft pens are trusted by government offices because they perform consistently, symbolizing the resilience needed both in policy and in life. They are more than writing instruments. They are a daily reminder of the craft behind every grand idea, every decision, every vision for a better tomorrow. In a world where so much is digital and fleeting, holding a Skillcraft pen in your hand is a moment to slow down, to connect with the enduring spirit of American craftsmanship and governance. It's a nod to the past coupled with a tool for the future, perfect for dreamers, thinkers, and makers who understand that every moment starts with a single mark on a page. So, if you seek reliability in a pen that carries the legacy of American history with every stroke, consider Skillcraft, because sometimes the simplest tools hold the greatest power, the power to write your own chapter in the ongoing story of the American dream. Here's a quiet invitation amid our exploration of the American dream's transformations to step into a world where words bloom and voices connect. Welcome to allpoetry.com, the largest online community for poets and poetry lovers alike. Poetry is much more than just verse. It is the pulse of our collective imagination, the art of capturing fleeting moments, hopes, and heartaches in language that breathes and heals. At allpoetry.com, thousands gather daily to share their poems, inspire one another, and find solace and strength in the power of words. Whether you're a seasoned poet or a curious newcomer with a nascent spark, this is a space where your voice matters. Why does this matter to our conversation today? Because poetry embodies the very ideals at the heart of a reborn American dream: the freedom to create, to express, to forge connections that cross differences, through shared stories. It reminds us that the dream is not just about material success, but about the creative spirit, the enduring human need to be heard and understood. At allpoetry.com, you can post your own poems and receive heartfelt feedback from a passionate, positive, welcoming community. Explore thousands of poems on themes of hope, struggle, identity, and renewal. Participate in contests and challenges that spark imagination and growth. Join forums where poets and readers discuss craft, life, and the evolving dream that shapes us. It is more than a website. It's a modern forum where the American dream's ideals of expression and connection find new life. Through poetry, we reclaim our stories, our pain, our joy, our relentless pursuit of meaning, and knit them into something beautiful, something alive. So, if you've ever felt the urge to write, to share, or simply to listen with an open heart, visit allpoetry.com. Discover the power of words to heal, to inspire, and to remind us that the spirit of the dream lives on in every poem, every story, every voice reaching out across the digital ether. Because the American dream, like poetry itself, is ever evolving, rooted in freedom, refreshed by creativity, and reborn in community. In the midst of pondering the rise and fall of grand ideas, there's a quiet companion that beckons the thinker, the writer, the dreamer, the moleskin notebook. More than just paper bound in a cover, it is a sanctuary for your thoughts, a trusted vessel to capture the flickering embers of inspiration before they vanish into the ether. Each moleskin notebook is crafted with care, bearing a timeless design that honors tradition, yet invites innovation. Its smooth, creamy pages beg to be touched by pen or pencil, inviting you to trace the outlines of your reflections, your schemes, your hopes, the very heartbeats of your evolving vision. There's something almost sacred in the ritual of opening a moleskin, a deliberate act of space-making, of slowing down, of honoring the ephemeral moments where ideas ignite. It offers a refuge from the distraction of a fast-moving world, a place where the noise fades and the whisper of your inner voice grows louder. Like the smoke rings we've contemplated, thoughts arise, settle, take form here in ink, resisting the impermanence of the digital swirl. Whether you're sketching the contours of a new dream, drafting a poem that captures a nation's heartache and hope, or simply jotting the day's musings, moleskin stands as a faithful companion, a reminder that every great transformation begins with a single mark, a solitary line that traces the shape of possibility. In this moment of reflection and rebirth, consider inviting a moleskin notebook into your journey, because every dream worth pursuing deserves a place to breathe, to be witnessed, nurtured, and set free onto the page. Moleskin, where your thoughts find home and your dreams take flight. In an age where the American dream is evolving, so too must the visionaries who invest in its future. Enter Monarch Holdings International, a company grounded in the belief that sustainable growth, innovation, community, empowerment aren't just the goals, they are imperatives for the next chapter of opportunity. Monarch Holdings stands at the crossroads of trust and transformation. With decades of experience guiding thoughtful investment strategies, they champion ventures that don't just seek profit, but actively build resilient futures. Their approach is holistic, aligning financial success with responsible stewardship of resources and an unwavering commitment to inclusivity. Imagine an investment partner who understands that progress means lifting communities, fostering technological innovation, and nurturing projects that respect both people and the planet. Monarch Holdings invests in enterprises that harness new ideas while honoring the wisdom of lasting principles. because the American dream of tomorrow must be both visionary and grounded. What sets Monarch Holdings apart is their warm yet authoritative leadership, guiding portfolios not only with sharp insight, but with a deep sense of purpose. They recognize that stability is the foundation upon which hope is built, and that economic opportunity must be accessible to all who dare to dream. Whether it's renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, or emerging technologies, Monarch Holdings is forging pathways that embrace innovation without sacrificing humanity. They see possibilities where others see risk, planting seeds today for a harvest that includes all. The new American dream calls for partners who lead with conscience as much as capital. Join Monarch Holdings International and be a part of the investment revolution that shapes a future defined by hope, resilience, and shared prosperity. Monarch Holdings International, investing in tomorrow's promise so today's dreams can flourish. And so the hour wanes. Tape rolls to its end. Just a quiet space now between the last thought articulated and the silence that follows. The final cigarette of this session finds its light, a brief, fierce flame against the encroaching dark. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. It's been a blast. I'm Stephen Leake. We're gonna win.